Porsche Taycan prices have been plummeting since its introduction. Prices dropped by 50% during the last 2 years, causing losses of $100,000 on high-spec examples. Taycans have become the face of the struggling EV market and the plummeting EV values. Almost every major automotive channel devoted a video to this topic, up to the point that it became tiresome. But it's finally ending. After reporting to you about crashing prices in the Taycan market for 3 years, I can finally say that a bottom started to form in the market. So it's now a good moment to buy a Taycan. And what does it mean for the recently released facelift model? Let's start by inspecting these bottoming price trends. We start with the Turbo and Turbo S's. Over here we have the price trend since April 21, and this reveals that prices indeed plummeted between mid-2022 and the beginning of 2024. In 18 months, the Turbo lost 42.9% and the Turbo S 41.3%. These rates amount to $88.8 and $110,000. Now often people argue that these rates simply belong to luxury cars. These type of vehicles indeed have monstrous depreciation curves, but 43% in 18 months is excessively high. A Panamera, for example, also has a steep depreciation curve, but they didn't lose 43% in such a short time period. Luckily for owners though, the depreciation rates flattened significantly during 2024. Last year the Turbo lost 10% and the Turbo S 10.5%, rates that are much more in line with the rest of the market and pushed prices down to roughly $111,000 for a Turbo S and $89,000 for a Turbo. Now it's important to know that these trends show average developments. You're probably not surprised to hear that the flattening mainly occurred for the cars from the oldest model years and for the cars that have an above average mileage, meaning 10,000 miles or more. The flattening of the curves is also supported by the inventory data. On the left, we can see now the carried over inventory rate. This is the percentage of cars that aren't sold in 3 months. And on the right, we can see the price change for those cars that didn't sell. The data shows that since 2024, the carried over inventory rates decreased slightly, and that the discount rates in case the cars didn't sell decreased. In May 23, for example, unsold Turbo S's were discounted by an average of 9%. Since then, the trend turned up, and currently the discount rates sit at approximately 3%. These two developments show that cars sell slightly quicker, and that sellers deem it unnecessary to discount them as much as before. The market is slightly stronger and no longer crashing. This matches with the flattening of the curves. Now it's not only the high-end turbo models for which the curve flattened, it also applies to the GTS's and the S's. If I, for example, plot the GTS in the turbo graph, we can see that the flattening syncs up with the one of the Turbo S. At a rate of 11.4%, the loss during last year is then also very similar to the Turbo S. You can also see that prices are the same, despite the higher MSRP of the Turbo S. This is because the GTSs have on average around half the mileage of a Turbo S and are on average 2 years younger. Let's have a look now at the base and the S models. We can see that the market is past the steepest point of the curve. Between May 2022 and November 23, base models lost 30% and S's lost 35%. Again, significant drops for such a short period of time. As we saw in the Turbo and GTS markets, rates started to flatten in 2024. This resulted in a depreciation rate of 16.8% in the base market and 16.4% in the S market. In monetary terms, these rates amount to $11.5 and $12.4 thousand. We can also see that much of the S's price premium disappeared. In May 22, you had to pay 22.5% more for an S. This premium decreased to 11% in February 2025, with median prices at $62.3 and $56,000. So the S seems to offer relatively good value for money. If we break the development down per model year for the S's, we can see that it are especially prices for cars from model year 2020, 21 and 22 that flattened. The flattening isn't that clear for the cars from model year 2023. Model year 2024 contains still many cars that are almost brand new. Within each of the model years that display a flattening, it are of course the higher mileage examples that show the strongest drop in the depreciation rate. These are the cars with more than 13,000 miles. Similar to the turbo market, inventory data shows that the market normalized somewhat. On the left hand side we can see that the carried over inventory levels have been flat in the base market and decreased in the S market. On the right hand side we can see that discount rates on unsold cars have been decreasing. They used to be an average of more than 10% for the S models, while they currently sit at 6%, double of those in the turbo market.
So it's clear that trends are flattening in the Taycan market, but does this mean that it's a good moment to buy one? Well, there are a few things to consider.
First, you need to be aware that prices are no longer crashing, but that depreciation is still high. Over here I plotted the depreciation rates of the Taycan and also included the rates for two other cars that have high depreciation rates, the 971 Panamera and the AMG GT. Taycans lost on average 13%, Panameras 12% and AMG GTs 16%. The numbers are all significantly lower than the 20+ rates that we saw in the Taycan market during 2023. Yet they're still above the market average. Taycan turbos score relatively good compared to other cars in this overview, and the base and S model relatively poor.
In short, you're still buying a car with a relatively high depreciation rate, but you avoided the worst part.
The second thing you need to be aware of is the warranty. The general warranty is 4 years or 50,000 miles, but this excludes the battery. For the battery, it's now 100,000 miles or 8 years. So this means that the normal warranty for a 2020 model is soon expiring. So you might want to get an extended warranty pack. Now when it comes to the battery, you could get close to the 100,000 miles limitation or the 8 years period. But to use the warranty between year 3 and 8, the battery needs to have a capacity of 70% or less. I couldn't find any extended warranty packs for the battery, but please let me know in the comments if there exists such an option.
Now after all of that, I would like to rewind a bit and look at a different part of the Taycan market. Under the previous Taycan market updates, a few of you asked about the differences between the sedans and the cross Turismos. So let's have a look at that.
If we split the base and S market by the sedans and the cross Turismos, we can see that there's a difference in price level, but that the shape of the trends are similar. We already saw that base and S models lost 16.8 and 16.4% respectively. For the cross Turismos, this is 16.1% for the base model and 20.1% for the S model. The base cross Turismo market is the largest one, with on average between 30 and 50 cars for sale. The uncertainty in this rate is larger than for the normal base and S models, but I think that this rate of 16.1% is fairly reliable. The cross Turismo market for the S models is quite small, with 15 to 20 cars for sale. This increases the uncertainty in the 20.1% rate. Therefore, I think that we should put more emphasis on the rate in the base market and can conclude that there is no significant difference for the base and S models.
The turbo cross Turismos are even more rare, making it difficult to get a reliable estimate. There are only between 3 and 15 cars for sale at any given moment.
So far we talked about used Taycans, but what if you want to buy a new one? Will that market crash again? And will you be losing more than 50% in 2 years? It doesn't look too good. Over here we have the by now well-known trends of the base and S models, but now also some data on the facelifted version. We can see that 2025 base models lost 12.4% during the last 6 months, indicating that depreciation could be insanely high and similar to what we've seen before. However, market supply is still relatively low, and we need to be careful when interpreting this number, but so far it doesn't look too promising. Data for the turbo market is even more scarce, so I will come back to this in the next market update.
Let's wrap up and conclude.
After a market crash in 2023, the price trends finally show that depreciation rates are decreasing.
Should you buy a Taycan? Well, I guess it depends on how badly you want a Taycan, how much of a value-conscious buyer you are, and how risk-averse you are.
Depreciation rates did indeed come down, but are certainly not low. They are now more in line with the rates that you typically see in the luxury car segment. Also, there doesn't seem to be a significant difference between the sedans and the cross Turismos. Second, if you buy one now, especially one with a lower depreciation rate, your ownership period or mileage could surpass the warranty threshold. This exposes you to a lot of downside risk, for example when the battery fails you.
Buying a newer example or even a brand new car of course removes the battery problem, but it exposes you to the high depreciation rate. Perhaps the optimal strategy involves a shorter ownership period for an example that is depreciating at a lower rate. And with that we arrived at the end of this video. Now if you enjoy this data-driven way of analyzing car prices but would like to see a video for a different car, head over to my channel. Over there you'll find data-driven market updates for a large variety of cars. Can't find the car you're looking for? Let me know the name of that car down below in the comment section. Once there are enough requests for a certain car, I'll make a video about it. As always, thank you for watching and I hope to see you again in 2 weeks for a fresh market update.